Welcome friends, welcome back to Cocktails After Dark, where I am exploring cocktail recipes from old cocktail books, mostly pre-prohibition cocktail books. And today we're going to tackle the Mojito, and this is a cocktail that I have avoided making because it is a very popular drink and it has a very strong mythology around both its creation and how it should be made. So we're going to take it back today to the beginning of when this cocktail was actually called a Mojito. And the first time it's ever written down is in the 1931 version of this cocktail book from Sloppy Joe's. I have the 1933 version, but the recipes are exactly the same. And the recipe appears in this book both as a rum drink and a gin drink. And I think that is kind of telling as to the origins of this cocktail. And so today I'm going to make one of each, both a rum and a gin version of this cocktail. And they start out exactly the same with superfine sugar in the bottom of a glass. And then it asks for, in the rum version, half of the juice of a lemon. And I think that is a mistranslation from the Spanish of limon, which is definitely a lime. If you've been to Cuba ever, you'll know that they use lime in the cocktail. Now, the rum version gets the juice of half a lime, but the gin version gets the juice of a whole lime. And I think the gin version is sort of a nod to who the customers were at Sloppy Joe's bar in the 1930s. They were definitely American tourists who might be a little more accustomed to the flavor of gin than rum. And so for rum, I'm going to use this Bacardi rum, because Sloppy Joe does say Bacardi rum. And in that time period, Bacardi rum was still made in Cuba. If you go to Cuba today, it's more likely you're going to get Old Havana or Cubé rum. And in Sloppy Joe's later books, they have a house brand of rum that they use, and it is definitely an aged dark rum. So they stopped using the light rum in their cocktails and went to this much darker rum. Next in, of course, is mint. No indication of how much mint to use in each one. I'm going to take a couple of sprigs of mint and put them in. Now, what can be proven about the creation of this cocktail is that in the late 1920s, cocktails start to appear called the Mojo, and those feature essentially the same ingredients as the Mojito that first appears in the 1931 Sloppy Joe's cocktail book. There's a much earlier story that tries to link it back to the 1500s and Captain Drake, a British sea captain. And the story is that, Drake rocks up on the coast of Cuba and his crew is suffering from scurvy. And so the story is, of course, that he shows up and the Cubans come out and say, oh, if you take some rum and some mint and lemon or lime, it'll cure the scurvy. And so this is a wonderful, fantastical story about this drink called Le Drac, or the Drake. Except there's no historical evidence to support it. And the first time that this drink shows up in the written record is in the 1830s. And it doesn't really link the drink to the Mojito. It doesn't give a recipe. It just makes reference to some drink called the Drake. So we don't really know what's in it. Anyway, it's a great story. I'm sure it sold a lot of rum. And so many scholars think that this is more generally linked to the julep. And you've got American tourists coming to Cuba asking for a mint julep, which at that time period would have been made with gin. And the bartenders in Cuba coming up with something that used rum, which was more common in Cuba. But when have we ever let reality get in the way of a good story? So we're going to finish this off with a sprig of mint in each. And they also get the spent lime shell, just to give you a hint of lime on the nose as you take your first sip.
Hey, Glenn. Hey, friends. How do I drink it with the thing on top?
I've actually had it where they've put a high-proof rum and sugar in the top and then set it on fire. So I'm not going to set it on fire. I'm not going to set it on fire.
Not ready for that.
So I give you the Mojito. Two ways. So yours is made with gin.
Okay.
And this one is made with a rum.
Got it.
Cheers.
I'm gonna take that out too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mint on the nose.
I like that. I like the gin. I find that very light and refreshing, and then the
is.
mint adds to the botanicals of the gin.
Yeah.
To me, I like that. I would drink that on a beach.
And the rum is classic, although I prefer, I think, a darker rum.
Well, I'm gonna give it a try. There you go. Get to start again.
Oh yeah, different nose completely with the gin.
Yeah, I like that. It's a completely different flavor. Still light, still refreshing, still minty, and not the same.
I prefer the gin mojito.
I prefer the gin, but then I prefer gin over rum. So that's my bias.
Well, when we were in Cuba, they were pumping these out at the bar like there was no tomorrow. I have never seen so many people drink so many mojitos, and they were using Havana Club
Of course.
and the white Havana Club. But I know that in the Sloppy Joe's, he goes to a 12-year-old rum later, or a 15-year-old rum. I can't remember off the top of my head. Which would change the flavor again. But I don't know. I think from now on, I'm a gin mojito person.
Yeah, that's like a souped up gin and tonic.
Yeah, that's really nice.
And this is a more traditional mojito as we know it, but I drink either.
So there you are, birth of the mojito, done two ways. We both prefer the gin, probably. Although, rum is the drink of Cuba. Remember being at the Tropicana?
That was a fun show.
And for every two people sitting at a table, you got a bottle of rum between two people. And if
You got 2 cans of Coke.
two little cans of Coke if you wanted to mix it. They were mostly pushing the rum. The Coke was second. Well, the Coke was probably too expensive. Thanks for stopping by. See you again soon.